In the Greek myth, the cycle of the seasons of Earth are told thusly. Persephone, a beautiful young woman straddling the precipice of adolescence and womanhood, is the daughter of Demeter, goddess of the harvest and the natural world. Demeter is sister to god of the universe, Zeus, and to Hades, god of the underworld and the dead. Hades, along with a trove of other mortal men and immortal gods, falls into obsessive love with Persephone, who knows nothing about him and is unaware of this. Hades goes to his brother Zeus and pleads with him to give him permission to kidnap Persephone and make her his bride. Zeus permits Hades to do so, violating the agency and consent of Persephone. And I should say now that this sermon has themes of powerlessness and trauma and betrayal, and that the Greek myths more broadly, well, they have been sort of softened, I think, in our modern era, are quite full of violence. And I want you to be aware of that if you're not in the space to hear a message with those themes today. So one day, Persephone is frolicking in a meadow with her dear friends, and she wanders away from them. In her wandering, she spots the most beautiful flower she has ever seen, a narcissus. And she bends to pick the flower, and as she bends down, suddenly the earth caves under her feet, and she is grabbed by the hot hands of Hades, and she struggles and fights to escape, but she is no match for the king of the underworld, and he takes her to his kingdom to be his prisoner and his wife. When Persephone disappears, Demeter is bereft, inconsolable in her grief. She begins to wander the earth disguised as a human being, seeking solace from the deep hole her missing daughter has left in her heart. Zeus is aware of what has become of Persephone, his sister's daughter, and he stays silent and says nothing to Demeter regarding the whereabouts of Persephone. Demeter's grief only grows larger, her sorrow transforms to rage, and she neglects her duties as the goddess of agriculture. The crops for which she is responsible wither and die. Finally, the sympathies of the people of earth for Demeter in her grief begin to wear thin, and they shout and plead for her to return to her work. Their protest grows so loud, even Zeus can no longer ignore them. At this point, both the sun and the moon, which see everything, have told Demeter where her daughter has been taken, and Demeter confronts Zeus. "Return my daughter to me," Demeter says, "or I will let the earth wither and die, and the people will starve, and there will be no one left alive to worship you." Zeus believes Demeter's threats and commands his brother to return Persephone to her mother. But before she does so, Hades tricks Persephone. He implores her during what she believes will be their final night together to take a meal with him. Persephone, perhaps because she is naive to the truths of the world, or perhaps because she is not, eats 7 pomegranate seeds. Now, what most mortals know, but what Persephone might not, is that all who partake of the food of the dead will never be able to leave their shadowy realm behind. Consuming the food of the underworld makes the underworld a part of the one who has consumed it forever. She has eaten what was forbidden from her, and now she will long for the land of the dead for all of her days and nights. And so a deal is made, a compromise, a bargain. Persephone will return to the land of the living to be reunited with her mother, but only for a temporary time. After half the year, she will be compelled to return to Hades, where she will be his bride and queen of the underworld. During the seasons that Persephone is reunited with her mother, Demeter is joyful. The earth grows green and warm and produces fruit and grain. When Persephone is beckoned to return to Hades, Demeter again falls to grief, and the crops wither and die from her neglect, and the air grows cold, and the earth lays fallow until Persephone returns again. It is in this tale that the cycles of the seasons are explained. We are meant, as human beings, as creation living on earth, to feel a sense of connectedness with the natural rhythms of the world. The seasons, winter, spring, summer, and fall, are meant to alert us to nature's cyclical ebbs and flows, as well as to the cycles of our own lives. If we think of autumn as a time when what has grown is gathered in harvest, and some things die and some things settle down for a sleep as deep as death, as the time when trees shed parts of themselves in preparation for a season of barren suspension, we can then connect that natural order to the natural order of our own lives. Parts of us sometimes die off so that new parts may emerge in their place. We are given fresh opportunities to begin our lives in a new way with a new perspective, holding the grief of what we might have lost, deciphering the wisdom which echoes in our consciousness in the wake of change or transition, standing firmly in this new, deeper knowing, waiting to experience what newness will emerge from the remains of what we once were and who we once knew ourselves to be. Every fall, UU ministers from their regional space, and we here in Iowa belong to the Prairie Star District, and that includes our neighbors from Michigan and Missouri and Illinois and Minnesota. I'm like, Tim Walz, Minnesota, and others that I might be forgetting. We're all in the Prairie Star District, and just about every year we gather at Prairie Woods in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And so this year we gathered for worship in our opening and our closing, and the UU ministers who were leading worship read beautiful, meaningful poetry. Some of it was written from their own hearts, some from the hearts and minds of colleagues in this work, and some from other sources. Now, UUs are proud to withhold the distinction of holy doctrine from any sacred text in particular, and we don't uphold any one single wisdom tradition as superior over others. Rather, we believe that all sacred texts and some texts that others might consider mundanely rooted in the secular, like poetry, as all potentially containing sacred wisdom and deeper knowing. For many UUs, poetry is our sacred text. I know that's true for me. That's why you hear so much poetry at a UU worship service. A colleague prayed his own words as he began Sunday morning worship, greeting those gathered in person or on Zoom from the vantage point of our celestial material. Hello to you who are made of earth and stars, he prayed, from one who is also made of earth and stars. Incredible, beautiful, so simple and so profound, I thought. We are made of the stuff of the universe. We are made of ash and water, of earth and stars. Therefore, we are a part of the universe, a speck, perhaps, of its consciousness, experiencing material life on Earth, experiencing groundedness in a cosmos that knows no grounds nor bounds. We are swept as human beings into the dance, the rhythm of the world that we call home, of which we are a part. And just as we are swept into the cycles of nature, so too we experience the cycles of loss and gain and hope and despair, of hurt and healing that we hear told of in the story of Persephone and her mother, Demeter. In the Greek story of the origins of the seasons, the strength and force of Demeter's maternal grief and rage is a central focal point of the story. Little attention is given to the flagrant, violent criminality of Hades or the disgusting permissiveness of Zeus. But Persephone, the one who is harmed and used and jerked around at the whims of the gods more powerful than she is barely afforded a cursory glance. We know that she is beautiful and she is young, and that's about it. Tragic and unsurprising, just how long we valued women, mostly in accordance to their appearance and their age. And so, what are we to make of Persephone? In the myth of the seasons, she is the undeniable victim of the lusts of men, helpless and stolen and battered, tricked and trapped and devoid of much personification beyond her beauty and her victimhood. And yet, in the compilation of Greek myths, Persephone appears often reigning as the queen of hell, having seemingly transformed the trauma of her capture into a power and dominion of her own. Persephone is the goddess of vegetation and fertility, controlling what springs forth and what is returned beneath the earth. Persephone controls the fate of mortals, damning souls to eternities spent in the underworld, or occasionally granting a lucky few the ability to straddle life and death, returning as she does cyclically to the world of mortals and back to the afterlife again and again. She is described as intoxicatingly seductive, as well as dangerous and deadly. The source of Persephone's power lies in the memories and lessons from the 7 pomegranate seeds that briefly passed her lips. Persephone is forever changed by what was done to her and what she endured. In the stories that follow her capture and release, Persephone is made strong and powerful and wise. This is what she gains in exchange for her suffering. Persephone exemplifies a spirit of resilience, challenging us to use the events of our lives in which we were harmed or betrayed or used unfairly so that we may emerge not damaged by circumstances over which we had no control, but instead reborn out of the fire of what tried to burn us. Persephone reminds us that while many desire to grow wise, few willingly accept that wisdom and personal growth are almost always gained from what challenges and, yes, even what hurts us. Persephone urges us to give in to the cycles of change, of death, and rebirth that exist all around us, observed keenly in the simple, inevitable transition of the seasons. She counsels us that life is an ever-continuing cycle of birth and rebirth, death and dying, growth, change, and transformation. Persephone is the seed buried deep in the cold earth in a liminal state of rest and anticipation. She is waiting for the time when the earth warms and she is beckoned to burst through the soil. In this season of warm sun and gentle rain, she will return and she will grow. And then slowly she will die again, called again to lie under the earth, resting and waiting for the cycle to renew. So as this summer turns over into fall and we prepare for a season of darkness and rest, what are you releasing so that you may be prepared to receive whatever new thing is waiting to emerge? What is dying off? What are you shedding or putting down or leaving behind? What do you hope will grow in its place? What are you waiting for, and what do you deserve to receive? What must be given up, and what is growing anew? What darkness have you waited in so that you could recognize the light when it returned to you? In the spirit of Persephone, what seasons of struggle and difficulty have made way for a stronger, braver, more authentic version of you? What wisdom came to you hard fought? What did you learn that informed the path you travel today? There are lyrics from a song, If Not for the Rain, by Steel Woods that go, if not for the rain, I wouldn't notice the blue skies. Not for the sunshine, I wouldn't care for the shade. If not for the valley and all of this pain, the top of the mountain would seem just the same. I wouldn't know a good day if not for the rain. Some say life can't be beautiful without pain to contrast beauty. There are those who would choose to forego pain entirely, thusly also sacrificing the experience of beauty, just as there are those who would sacrifice winter for an endless summer. And sure, well, I am in the thick of chaos and trouble and difficulty. I might have bargained with just about anyone, promising to relieve my suffering immediately. But once whatever season of difficulty has passed from me, and sometimes I have to get a long way past it, but once the sky clears and the road becomes sturdy again under my feet, and I am given the space to process and to recover and to rest and to heal, it is then that I almost always arrive to a place where I recognize what newly earned wisdom has emerged, what new strengths and skills and ability to manage mischief has been gained, where what I have gone through has made me who I am now and clarified who I want to become. For this, for the human experience of enduring and releasing and receiving anew, I will rejoice in the earth as she descends into fall. I will encounter chilling air and browning grass and bare trees with reverence. I will do so knowing full well that winter is coming and it will be long and dark and cold, because I am equally assured that spring will follow winter and we will all be frolicking in the warmth of summer again soon. Hail, hail to the turning of the seasons, the turning of the year, the cycles of the earth of which we are a part. We honor you as we honor all we have experienced and passed through in our life journey to growth and new becoming. May we all grow through what we go through. May it be so because we make it so. Amen and blessed be.